Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to grecochess, the YouTube channel of chess, and we continue facing the chess.com bots. Let me explain first of all what are the bots. The bots are software programs that play according to a preset skill. Of course, the toughest bots play at a skill that no human can match them, but we're going through the chess.com bots that are in much lower levels. Each of them has a particular rating. And let me share the screen with you to explain what exactly is happening. We are facing the various bots. We started with the beginner bots here. As you see, there are 15 of them starting from Martin. If you see Martin has a rating of 250, meaning that if you face Martin, it's like as if you have an opponent whose rating is 250, quite low. And they go all the way until Karim, that is 850. And we had no problem with the beginner bots. I faced all of them twice, once with white, once with black, won every single game. Then there are the intermediate bots that started with, excuse me, no, these are the advanced. The intermediate ones started with Maria at 1,000 and ended with Matteo at 1,400. What happened with them is most of them we did quite well. A couple of them we needed to play again a few times until we defeated them. And after that, it's time for the advanced ones. The advanced, the first two that we faced was Wendy 1500 and Antonio 1500. Here we had some issues. We had some times to play again, but finally we defeated both of them twice, once with white and once with black. And then the next one, 1500, and the last with 1500 is Pierre from France. We already defeated Pierre with the white pieces the very first time. And now we're going to face Pierre, where Pierre has the white and I have the black pieces. See if we can defeat it, because if we do so, we advance. And then we face the bots that have a rating of 1600, starting with Pablo from, I think it is from Colombia. But let's first deal with Pierre, and Pierre has the white, I have the black. And as we go along, I'm going to explain my thought process. And then we are going to go through the review. Pierre has the white pieces and he starts by telling us bonjour, which is French for good day. And Pierre, let's see how Pierre will start. With pawn to f4, the so-called bird's opening. You see here it is the bird's opening. Not very popular and perhaps not even the best. Usually people start either with pawn to e4 or to d4 or maybe to c4. I want to occupy the center, but of course I cannot put pawn on e5 because I lose it. I put put pawn on d5. Knight to f3, good idea. Occupying the two, developing the knight and controlling d4 and e5 squares. And I'm going to do something similar. Knight to c6. Pawn to d4 for Pierre. And what should I do now? I want to develop my pieces. I don't want to block them. If I put my bishop on g4, the good thing is that if Pierre pushes the pawn, the knight to f3 is pinned. But what if Pierre sends his knight to e5 and attacks my bishop? That's why I'm going to put my bishop on f5. Pawn to g4, that is, as they say, free cheese macaroni. I'm going to grab it, free pawn. Oh, let the tricks begin. Let's see what tricks we have. You see here, he's using his knight to attack my bishop, but I'm going to take his knight. Takes it back with a pawn. And how are we doing? I have a bishop on g4, but it is... I need to see it's unprotected, so there is danger there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pawn to e6 because this opens diagonals, both the queen on d8 and the bishop on f8. What will happen with my check from h4? Pierre can exchange queens if he likes. If he exchanges, we're ahead by a pawn, why not? Are you trying to trick me? Poor Pierre. What should I do now? First of all, Pierre has no castling rights. I want to develop, but develop how and what? Let's place my knight on e7. Is my queen in any danger? It doesn't seem so. My bishop, I have to worry about my bishop, but I'm going to, because it's not, I don't even need to worry, because if the pawn takes it, I win the rook. Also, the pawn on e2 is pinned. Let me place my king on g6. Now there is danger, because you understand what's happening. If I do nothing, either the rook or the pawn can take it. I cannot put it here. It's attacked twice by bishop f1, queen d3, defended only once. My bishop will go to f5 and attack the white queen. Now what white can do is send, we have check from b4. Yes, if he sees it, it is tough, because my pawn on b7 is lost. And what will I do with my king? But first, let's save the bishop, send it to f5. No, he didn't check from b5. That would have been, I wouldn't say scary, but a little bit uncomfortable, to say the least. My pawn on c7 is attacked by the queen on c3. But this is easily defended. While if it was queen from d5, it would be what's called fork, because attack simultaneously my king on e8 and the pawn on b7. And of course, if I defend by my pawn on c6, it will be lost. Let me tell you before that move what I was afraid. I was afraid of this thing here, the queen to b5, attacking both pawn on b7 and king on e8. And I cannot defend like that. Let's do it. Yes? Because let's do once again the arrows if I can do them correctly. Because then queen takes the pawn. No, I'm sorry. Because then queen takes the pawn on b7. I'm not good in arrows. Let's do it once again. And now queen takes on b7 and attacks both the pawn on c6 and the rook on a8. And if the rook goes here, for example, then queen takes my pawn. Good, I did the arrows, wonderful. But actually, the queen went to c3. What do I need to do now? Defend the pawn on c7 by pushing it to c6. I think that's the best way. Now there is no check. The queen cannot go to b4, but even if it could, it would be lost. Rook goes to g3 now. What can I do? I cannot take the rook because defended by the queen. If I put my knight on f4, think about it. You see, I'm attacking the pawn on h3 three times with the knight, the bishop, and my queen. It defended only twice with the bishop and no, it's also defended three times. Bishop, rook, and queen. So that is not going to work. What I want to do is develop. Bishop goes to e7. Ce n'est pas bon, says once again Pierre, which in French means it is not good. Maybe I should listen to my coach more. I wonder, you have a coach, and who could it be? What can I do now? I cannot place my bishop on g5, attack twice, defend it once. I wish I could. What can Pierre do? Queen on e3 is blocking, among other things. The pawn on e2. I need to think carefully what to do. If I put my pawn on h6, I threaten a pawn goes to g4. If the queen moves, before that. Let's do this for now. Let's put my pawn to h6 and threaten bishop to g5. If the queen moves anywhere else, I'm threatening have my queen go to e4 and threaten c2 check. Let's do this and see if it works. Pawn to a4, that's a waste. Look, Pierre, there's a lot of things at stake in the king side, and you push a pawn on the queen side. What exactly do you gain? Let me put my bishop on g5 as I was thinking. I threaten the queen, and if the queen moves, then where are I going to go? Then I win the bishop there. Of course, the king can take it, but I can win the pawn on d4 and so on. Let's try this one. Bishop goes to g5, as I was planning. Queen goes back. Now, should I take the bishop, or is there anything better? The better thing I have here is if I put my bishop on f5, I'm threatening the rook twice. But the rook can go to g2. Go to g1. Let me take the bishop. I'm ahead. I want to exchange. Now queen goes to e4 and threatens mate on c2. There are defenses. For example, moving the pawn. Moving this pawn here. Or even the knight goes to a3. Let's try to see what will happen here if I threaten with mate. Yes, pawn went to e3, and it's not mating. Not only that, I have to be very careful if bishop goes to e3. My queen is too constrained. If bishop goes to e3, my queen can go to h1. And then rook goes to g1. I have to be careful with everything like that. No, here queen goes back. What should I do now? Rook to ch to get the rook along the c file. Let's see if we can do anything here. Yes, I knew this would happen. It's queen to h1 check. Let's see how we'll. Yes. I don't want repetition. I cannot take the pawn on h3. Let's go here a second time. Will Pierre go for repetition? Yes. So queen goes here, pinning the rook on g3. Yes, a queen cannot take it because then I win the rook. Oh, he wins my rook. Got my pawn back. I cannot take the pawn because not only he will this rook, then he will learn the other rook here. Let's castles, so now the rooks defend each other. Material is the same. Am I better? I'm not even sure. But my queen is too constrained. And there's a dangerous attack. Let's exchange queens. I think it's better if we exchange. And now I want to open the C file because the king is opposite of that. That is wonderful. He took with the rook instead of the pawn, the double pawns, and I win one of them. I win a second pawn. Yes, finally, out of nowhere, I won a couple of pawns. He's attacking my pawns. Should I defend them? How can I defend them? And is it worthwhile to defend them? Or if I have something better to do? Let's defend for now my pawn. I'm ahead by 2 pawns. Taking the other one. Defend with my knight, yes. Check with my knight. Where will the king go? Check with my rook. No, win the pawn. Yes, win the pawn and protect my other pawn on c4. Can I use my other rook to defend my knight? Yes, for now they defend each other, but barely. Can I check with my knight? Yes. And if you take the pawn, I take your knight. But you didn't. But I'm going to win the other pawn here. Oh no, I did. I lost my knight. I'm still with a +1. And my pawn is in danger. I'm not doing well at all. Let's threaten the knight. Got it. So now I have an extra knight. We're exchanging rooks. I had not an extra knight. I had 3 pawns. Sorry, both sides have 1 rook, but I have 5 versus 2 pawns for Pierre. Question is how to win. First of all, preserve my pawns. Attack the pawn on the A file. Win it with a check. Save the one on the B file, and now I have 5 versus 1 pawns. See if I can exchange rooks. I'm hoping it can. Okay, you're going to win one of the 2 pawns, win the G1. I'm going to win the H pawn. Good. And push the A pawn. I can push my A pawn. You can win my H pawn. You don't have pawns. You don't have to. Oh, let's constrain the king on the first rank. And one more for mate, I think so. Not exactly, but I've been tricked. Okay, now you don't even have your rook. I have rook and 2 pawns versus nothing. This is just a king for Pierre. It's only a matter of time. Oh, you have broken my defenses. Yeah. Now be careful, no stalemate. Pierre can still go to the A2 square. Be careful, no stalemate. My king should go to C3 and not to B3 square. Here we are. Check. Don't even need to promote a pawn. And that's it. We checkmated Pierre not very easily, but at least the very first time. And let's go to the review. Let's see how did we do it. Here it was, I would say, from the advanced boards, the easiest of all. We had 2 wins, no draws, no losses. 77.3%, 84% for Pierre, 84 for me. And Pierre played as if his rating was 1300, below his nominal 1500. Uh, and I played as if my rating was 2050. I wish in real life I could play like that, and I wish my 1500 rated opponents would play like Pierre. But Pierre gave me some tough time. You see here, let's see how did we do the categories. I was winning, then the game became drawn, and then I started winning again. No brilliant moves, 3 great moves each of us. Book, 2 for Pierre, 1 for me. So it means I deviated from the um, book, from the opening theory. Best, 36 for me, 19 for Pierre. Excellent. 22 for Pierre, 13 for me. Good. 9 for me, 6 for Pierre. Inaccuracies, 8, Pierre, 4 for me. Mistakes, I made 3 mistakes. 2 misses for Pierre, 2 blunders for Pierre, and 1 for me. And let's go and see the review move by move, how it happened. Yes, the bird opening. The AI coach says bird's opening is an offbeat opening that starts with F4, creating weaknesses for white but trying to quickly attack the center and black's king. Yes, book to F3. And I'm supposed to develop the other knight to F6, not the knight to C6. This is supposed to be good, just good. Pawn to D4, yes. Bishop to F5 is the best. You may remember I was thinking if I should put bishop to F5 or G4, but bishop to G4 would help the knight go to E4, to E5, excuse me, and attack the bishop. Yes, of course, this is a blunder clearly because you just give me a free pawn. Sometimes, but not in this case, if the G&H files are more or less empty and white is trying to talk along the G&H files, especially if black has castle kingside, white may want to sacrifice the pawn at G4 because this opens a line for a rook. I'm sorry, not if black. If white has castle queenside and has brought the other rook to the D file, for example, and black is in kingside, then you might want to sacrifice it to open a line for the rook from G1, but not in this case. Knight goes to E4 clearly, and we exchange. Pawn to E6. Let's see, after the first 5 moves, I'm going to do it again. After the first 5 moves, uh, I'm ahead by 2.1 after winning this pawn. Now 6 moves have finished. Queen goes to D3. My queen goes to H4 with a check. king to d1. Yes, the computer would rather have us exchange queens. That's what I was thinking would happen, but if not. White has lost the castling rights. Mm, Computer wants me to castle queenside. Inaccuracy. The computer. Blunder! Blunder. Now, believe it or not, Pierre is ahead by 0.52, although this will not last for too long. I should have placed my bishop to f5 to attack the queen. I wanted to develop. I was afraid to check on b4, or excuse me, b5, but this is possible either way or other. Yes, that's what the computer wanted. Queen goes to b5 with a check. That was I was afraid, but that did not happen. Bishop attacks the queen. Yes, once again, here it's a huge miss for Pierre. Exactly what I was telling during the game. Queen goes to b5 check, and how do I reply? I cannot place my pawn on c6 because I lose both b7 and the c6 pawns. Later, although I had some tough time with the arrows, but that's what would happen. It was some relief to see the queen on c3. But before that, look at it. At this point, I have an advantage of 1.11. So yes, 1.11. And now my advantage becomes 2.90. Yeah, this was on the computer a good move, not the best. I wanted to protect my pawn. I'm only by a pawn ahead, don't want to lose my material advantage. See what happens now. Did I jump any moves? I did a c6, yes, and rook goes to g3, protects the pawn. Computer doesn't like it, thinks it's inaccuracy. Wants computer is afraid I'm going to castle queenside. I want to put the bishop on g5. Perhaps. Now, what will the computer say about bishop d7? Excellent. Queen 2, that is, this is a problem that among other problems, it blocks the pawn on e2, and the bishop on f1 is still at the starting point. You want to develop this thing. You do. Black, look at that. Pierre has 4 pieces that have not moved at all. Bishop f1, bishop c1, rook b1, and rook a1. And I have almost everything other than my rooks having been developed. I put the pawn to h6. Inaccuracy wants me to place my pawn on c5, and then if he takes it, my bishop cannot take it back. I'm not sure why I do it, this thing. I thought I would lose a pawn in this case, but I was planning to put my bishop on g5. Pawn to a4 is clearly more than inaccurate. It's a huge mistake because you do absolutely nothing. It's as if you pass. At a time where every move is so important, to expand on the other side of the board is useless. Not the worst. Yes, the worst would be if you have given me a queen for free. This did not happen, but easily you wasted a move. Bishop to g5, computer doesn't like it. Wants the rook to go to the c file. And now still good. We finished the first 15 moves. I'm ahead by 2.61. It has not yet been decided, but things little by little start going my way. Or maybe not. Let's see. King take it back. Queen goes to e4. I'm threatening checkmate. Pierre defense. Rook goes to c8. Want me to castle kingside. Bishop d3, and yes, it's a great move for them because I attack my bishop. Queen checks on each one. Bishop defense. Repeat a second time. And I have to be careful because it could lead to threefold repetition if I'm not careful. queen goes to h4 yet. My queen is safe, and I'm not having three-fold repetition. Bishop takes, pawn takes, yes. But look at that, my advantage. After the 20 moves, let's see what's happened. My advantage is very small, just 0.38. Pierre has almost equalized. I double my pawns along the f-file, not a good idea. And Pierre wins it. And I thought he couldn't win it because I'm attacking the rook on g3, but then I saw it. If I take it, he takes my rook on c8. And even worse than that, after I move my king, and there's only one square to e7, he wins the other rook on h8. And I'm not going to let this happen. Fortunately, I saw it on time. I don't always see these things on time. So castle king side, yes. Now the rook on g3 was under attack. That's why Pierre decided to use his queen, but he offers me the chance to exchange queens. Yes, the best move is a computer. Even though material is the same now, I don't have the reason to exchange because of extra material. And how things are going? Both sides have two rooks in the knight, but look, my rooks are developed and my knight, and Pierre has only his rook on g4 developed. The other rooks, a1, b1, in the starting place is still tough to develop, not impossible. But and let's see the pawn structure. Pierre has two double pawns, e3 and e5. Also, Pierre has two pawn islands, and I have two pawn islands. Yes. Here, one pawn island is just the pawn at h3, which basically means an isolated pawn. The other ones go e3, 5, d4, c2, b2, a4. In theory, this one pawn island. In reality, they are far from each other. I have two pawn islands. The one is d4, c3, b2, excuse me, d5, c6, b7, a7, but these are very near each other, supporting each other, and the same thing with the other one, f7, g7, h6. So in the although material is the same in the quote unquote details, and better development and better pawn structure. Where are we now? My pawn goes to c5. It hurts my chances. Coach doesn't say why. I think the reason is because if we exchange on c5, then I have the isolated d5 pawn. Yes, I have a rook looking towards the enemy king, but I think that's what Pierre implies. Also, the pawn on f7 cannot move because the only way supporting the knight on g6. That's why computer would rather have my king go to h7. It's unfortunate when the coach just gives something very generic, like this move hurts your chances without explaining why. But at least I'll try to explain it to the viewers. Blunder. What should they have done? Develop their knight on c3, says the coach. Of course, you want to develop pieces. Of course, the knight on c3 would block the pawn on c2. Maybe that's what Pierre was thinking. First move the pawn to c4. Great move. And suddenly my advantage becomes, you see, from when I was almost even, now I have an advantage of 2.98, almost 3. Still, it is not completely winning, but things finally started going my side. Well, they were going my side before, but Pierre came back a couple of times. Now let's see, of course. Computer wants me to take directly e5. I'll take it later. Not later, I'll take it now. Yes, the problem is that by postponing it now, look at what's happening. My pawn on e6 becomes isolated. Not what you like. Goes to d7. He goes to d7 to attack my pawns. Here, not a bad idea. Rook on d7 rank is great. Computer doesn't like it. Want my knight to go to e5. But I want to defend my pawn because not only the b7, then the a7 pawn is in danger. Rook goes here. And now my pawn goes to e5, and I protect also my pawn. Rook goes to a3, hoping to go to c3 and I win the pawn. That's why I'm checking first. Computer doesn't like it. Computer would rather have my rook checking first. Not sure why. So the result is my advantage from 528 goes down a little bit, 417 after 30 moves. 30 moves and things look great for me, although they could have been better. At least that's what the computer thinks. King to d2. I take the b2, you capture the free pawn, yes, but it's only good move. Rook is best, goes to f2 and protects the knight on b2 that protects the pawn on c4. Knight to t2. Rook, actually, my knight goes to d1 with a check. This is not just inaccuracy. This is basically, it's almost a blunder without any reason. I'm giving my knight on e3. I didn't see it then, but fortunately, I have a way out of that. He's the best, but then that is how I win the other knight on d2. Yes, I just lost a knight out of carelessness, but fortunately, there's a way to win the knight back. And look what's happening. Pierre cannot defend it because his rook cannot go to d3 because my pawn on c4 will take it. How else can he defend it? None of his rooks can go to other than d file. If the king moves, of course, still the knight is lost, and the knight is pinned. They cannot move. 35 moves, and I'm ahead by 3.43, a little bit less than before. Okay, Pierre will win my pawn. I win the rook. Another check. And what I want to do now, since I'm ahead by 3 pawns, 5 versus 2, I want to change rooks because I want, if rooks disappear, all of them, I have a completely winning ending with uh, passed pawn on e6, and even if the white king takes it, then I have 2 versus 1 on both aisles, queens and kings aisle. I create passed pawns in either one of them. Now, yes, I take away. I think f7 started moving towards the center. That's what you should do near the end. I'm ahead by 459. Look at that. We have both have one rook. I have 5 versus 1 pawns. I'm protecting the pawn on e6 at the same time. If rooks are exchanged, I'm winning completely. If rooks are not exchanged, Pierre will have a tough time stopping all of my pawns. And I'll try my best to exchange. So he will have basically each time there is a chance to exchange the rooks to do something different. I'm attacking the pawn on h3. Computer would rather have me attack the other one, a4, but then king would go to b3. Now I'm attacking the one on a4. Check. I win the pawn with a check, so I don't have to worry about my b7 pawn. From now on, it is, I haven't reached the M's yet. 45 moves have been completed, and I'm ahead by 552. No M's yet, but we are very near. I'm attacking the other pawn on h3, but here will defend it. I'm taking the check on a3, and then I'm pushing the a7 to a5, and I have 4 versus 0 pawns. 0 for Pierre means that there is no chance that he can surprise me by unexpectedly promoting a pawn. If he had even one pawn, you never know. When you least expect it, a pawn can be promoted, and my 4 other pawns can do nothing. But now that's not the case. Pierre has to rely exclusively on his rook and his king. Don't worry about my h6 pawn. Of course, I'd like not to lose it if possible, but here it's okay if I lose it because I have pawns on the other side of the board that can easily promote. He'll take it. He'll send his rook to f6y. So if my queen promotes, goes to a1 and promote, it's not a mate because rook can go to f8. Still, it's completely lost, but postpones a mate for a few moves. Finally, we start seeing the M's. When did we see them? Let's see how long ago. I did now get 5.8 for me advantage. And now after 53 moves, my advantage is 5.8. But now after that, it becomes M16. I don't understand why Pierre did not place his rook. If he wanted to place it along the sixth rank, why didn't he put it on f6 to stop for the checks and mates? Computer would rather have it go to g7 because then he can go to a7, perhaps postpone the promotion. On to a2, now it's m15, m5, and m4. After 55 moves, it's m4. Not made because we can go here, the only move to stop it. M8. Computer would rather have my queen go back a little bit. M7, M6, M4, M3, M5 now. Where should I should have moved my king? Yes, just do a neutral move. M5, M5, I was delaying it. M4 now. M3. Now I have to be very careful not to stalemate M2, and that's it. So we eliminated Pierre easier than the other 1500 bots. With a closed tab here. And let's see what is the next spot in the line. The next spot on the line is going to be Pablo from Colombia. Pablo's rating supposedly 1600. I hope he plays like 1600 because really the bots have played much less than their nominal skills. This will happen later, but in the meantime we have the next video will be tonight's game at chess.com, the fourth round of the Queen Chess Club, the two-player amateur team tournament. I'm participating in a team called the Last Moment. They started with one loss in round one, but two wins in rounds 2 and 3. Let's see what I can do tonight. Then, assuming nothing else extraordinary happens, there's going to be another puzzle rush. And then we are having the Chessanity February 1st tournament, 3 rounds, under 2000 the category, and assuming I go there and I have my score sheets, then the next 3 videos will be the games from Chessanity, and then we'll continue with the chess sports. But let's see how things are going to the tournaments I've been following. Play tournaments. We want to go with the daily ones. We want to go to the current and to my tournaments, and we are going to see grecochess. Nothing is changing. Maxime Govorucha white versus Barak 7 with black. Barak 7 needs at least a draw to become the champion. Maxime Govorucha needs a win to tie for first place. Let's see the other tournament. Then I want a Moonlight. That is round number 2. 28 players have made to round 2. And round 2 is approaching the end. Here we are. 28 players, 4 groups of 7, 3 from each of them advanced. From group 1, Maxime Govorucha is ahead with 9 points. This is 8 for AMT and 5 for Khaled Kadam. But the organizer, Zanilrod, has not completed any of his games, and these are the games that we're waiting for the first round to complete, and this will decide what's going to happen. Group 2, we know what's happening. 3 games remaining, but you see the color has changed, which means maybe from Nigeria, PGO74 from Italy, and Mathis B 2008 from France have advanced. Group 3, all games have been completed. Sinan Fu from Greenland, Iraq Lion from Iraq, and Steam Rocket from Australia have advanced. And Group 4, it's near the end. 2 games remain. And Here also it has been decided, although they haven't changed the color yet. Viva La Divya from India, Lycidia Vantres from Japan, and VN Carvanan from is it United States or Malaysia? Don't want to mess up. It is from Malaysia. I'm sorry, the colors look very similar. These three have advanced to the semifinals. So we know 9 out of the 10 and out of the 12 players, the other three would depend on what happens on group one. And that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Thanks to the viewers, the subscribers. If you have not subscribed, all you need to do is click the subscribe button. And to the comments, and I'd like to have your comments. Have you faced the chess.com bots? How have you done? How far have you been able to go? And but for now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Karilas Aniziris and the Greco Chess YouTube channel. Goodbye.